Somebody sold you a puzzle app and promised it would make you sharper. 11,000 people put that promise through a real trial. It didn't hold up. The things that do hold up are free, slightly annoying, and already sitting in front of you. The best one on this list is 2,000 years old. Let's get right into it. Number 9, the brain game lie. Here's the cleanest result in the entire self-improvement industry. In 2010, researchers ran a brain training study with the BBC, 11,000 people. 6 weeks of the exact games being sold as mental fitness. Everyone got better at the games. Nobody got better at anything else. Reasoning didn't move. Memory didn't move. The gains stayed locked inside the tasks people had practiced. It's like becoming world-class at parking in one specific spot. Very impressive. Completely useless one street over. 6 years later, the Federal Trade Commission went after Lumosity, the biggest company in the business. Lumosity paid $2 million to settle. The complaint was simple. The ads promised things the science didn't support. This doesn't prove brain games are worthless, it shows something narrower and more useful. Your brain adapts to what you practice, and only to that. So stop shopping. The upgrades that spread across your whole life aren't things you install. They're things you protect or stop damaging. And the first one is so boring nobody has ever managed to sell it to you. It's attached to your body, you mostly use it to walk to the fridge. Number 8, your legs are the upgrade. Stanford 2014, researchers sat people in a plain room facing a blank wall and asked them to invent unusual uses for everyday objects. Then they put the same people on a treadmill, facing the same wall, and asked again. Idea output went up about 60%. No scenery, no fresh air, a treadmill and a wall. And it didn't switch off at the end of the walk. People stayed more inventive for a while after sitting back down. One honest detail. Walking helped people generate options. It barely helped them crack puzzles with a single right answer. Movement doesn't make you smarter. It makes you better at producing ideas. That's the version you can feel today. There's a slower one. A 2011 trial put 120 older adults through a year of regular walking. The hippocampus, a memory structure that normally shrinks with age, came out about 2% larger. A year, older adults. So this is not a 30-day promise that your brain will grow. What it does suggest is that the thing isn't fixed. Here's your version. 1 walk, 20 minutes, no podcast. Bring 1 unsolved problem with you and let it sit there. Your body builds it while you move, it gets filed while you're unconscious. And that part is currently a fight. Number 7, the night shift argument. You've heard that sleep washes your brain. Here's where that came from, and why it's shakier than you think. In 2013, a lab found that in sleeping mice, the space between brain cells opened up by around 60%. Fluid moved through and carried waste out, including the protein that builds Alzheimer's plaques. They called it the glymphatic system. Your brain runs a night shift. Then, in 2024, another lab tested it a different way, also mice. They measured clearance directly and got to the opposite answer. Clearance went down during sleep, not up. Each team says the other's method is flawed. This is an open fight between serious scientists, and anyone telling you it's settled is selling something. So what survives? 2 things. Scan healthy people after 1 night without sleep, and that Alzheimer's related protein measurably rises. That's a marker, not a diagnosis, but it's a real signal in real humans. And memory consolidation during sleep is about as agreed on as neuroscience gets. What you learn today gets sorted tonight, which is the useful version. You don't need the plumbing diagram. Sleep is when today gets saved, and skipping it keeps showing up in scans. So protect those 8 hours, then hand the other 16 to a rectangle that charges you rent. Number 6, the phone tax. In 2004, a researcher started timing how long office workers stayed on one screen before switching. 2.5 minutes, she thought that was alarming. Her recent number is 47 seconds, other labs found 44, 50, that's the average adult attention span on a screen. Under a minute. But the switch isn't the expensive part, the return trip is. Her data suggests it takes more than 20 minutes to fully get back into what you were doing. Your brain doesn't close a tab cleanly, part of you stays parked on the last thing, quietly idling, while you perform being present on the new one. Researchers call it attention residue. So 1 glance at a notification isn't 3 seconds. It's 3 seconds plus a 20-minute tail, several times an hour, all day. You've probably heard that your phone drains you even face down and switched off. Great line. It comes from a 2017 study that later failed to replicate, so file it as unproven. Doesn't matter, the interruption cost alone is enough, and you are carrying a machine built to interrupt you. 30 days. 2 hours a day with the phone in another room, not silent, not face down, another room. Then brace yourself. What shows up in that silence first isn't focus, it's panic. And that panic is covering something valuable. Number 5, weaponized boredom. Here's the finding that annoys productivity culture. In 2012, researchers gave people creative problems, then sent them off for a break. One group did something hard, one rested, one got no break, one did something mindless, easy enough that the mind drifts. The mindless group came back best, not the rested group, not the hard-working group. And here's the specific part. The gain showed up on problems they had already seen. Boredom didn't make anyone creative, it gave a problem that was already in their headroom to keep cooking. This is one lab study, so don't treat it as law, but it explains something you've lived. The shower isn't magic, it may simply be the last undemanding task your phone can't follow you into. Washing dishes, folding laundry, walking home, standing in a queue. Those used to be thinking chambers, and you filled every one of them with a feed. You didn't lose your creativity. You paved over the place where it happened. So, 15 minutes a day of something mindless with nothing playing. Load a real problem in first, then go do the dishes. One thing will eat that quiet before any problem gets near it, and it isn't your to-do list. Number 4, name the feeling. 30 people, a brain scanner, a stack of photographs chosen to upset them. Some participants just looked. Others had to pick a word for the emotion they were seeing. Angry, afraid. Same image, same threat, one extra step. When people named it, the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, responded less. A region tied to putting experience into words became more active. The two moved in opposite directions. Be careful with what that means. This is brain activity in a scanner, not proof that your bad day disappears. But the direction is consistent, and trying it costs nothing. The distinction that matters is that this isn't venting. Venting is volume. Running the same feeling at full blast until you're exhausted, and it's still sitting there. Naming is precision. One sentence that identifies the actual thing. There's a real gap between I feel awful and I'm embarrassed that I wasn't ready and I'm covering it with anger. The second one takes 10 seconds. Unnamed emotion isn't free. It runs in the background on the same attention you just spent 2 sections trying to protect. One sentence a day out loud or written down. Nobody has to hear it. All of this assumes the world is still reaching your brain intact. For a lot of people quietly, it already isn't. Number 3, the ears go first. In 2024, the Lancet Commission listed 14 changeable things linked to dementia risk. Most people expect crosswords near the top. The biggest single item on that list is hearing loss. Their model links about 7% of dementia cases worldwide to it. That's a modeled estimate built on observational data, so read it as a strong association, not a proven cause. The logic is easy though. A brain receiving mush has to burn effort decoding it, and that effort comes out of the same budget you use for thinking and remembering. Then conversation gets exhausting, so you talk less and go out less, and you lose the richest input your brain will ever get. Other people. Now the honest part about treatment, the first big trial of hearing aids and cognition followed nearly 1,000 older adults for 3 years. Overall result, no effect at all. But in the subgroup already carrying extra dementia risk, cognitive decline was 48% lower. That's a subgroup finding, promising not settled. And here's the part aimed at you if you're nowhere near 70. The World Health Organization estimates over 1 billion young people are risking permanent damage from headphones. Most headphones hit 100 decibels at full volume. Those cells don't grow back. 60% volume, 60 minutes, earplugs at anything loud. Number 2, the nuns who hit Alzheimer's. In 1986, an epidemiologist convinced an order of American nuns to let him study their minds for the rest of their lives, then donate their brains. 678 agreed. Same food, same schedule, same housing. A control group you could never build on purpose. Then he found the convent archive. Every sister had written a short autobiography before taking her vows at around age 22. He measured how many ideas they packed into a sentence. Essays from the 1930s, brains examined 60 years later. The essays lined up, denser writing at 22, less Alzheimer's damage at 90. But that's the small finding. Here's the one that changed the field. Some sisters stayed sharp into their 90s and past 100, talking, remembering, scoring well on tests. Their autopsies came back full of advanced Alzheimer's damage, complete disease, no symptoms. The leading explanation is cognitive reserve, not immunity, capacity. Enough spare room to keep running while the structure underneath quietly degrades. Read it carefully because this is observational work. Thin writing at 22 might reflect a brain that was already vulnerable rather than a shield nobody built. Either way, one thing is hard to unsee. Symptoms are not the same as damage. a brain can be losing badly and reporting nothing at all. Which sounds like a verdict handed down when you were 22. Until 51 ordinary people got 40 days. Number 1, the palace in your head. Every year, people compete at memorizing shuffled decks and 100-word lists at speeds that look faked. In 2017, researchers scanned 23 of the world's best memory athletes, expecting to find what made them different. Structurally, nothing. No oversized memory centers. The only difference was in how their brain networks talk to each other. So the team tried to manufacture it. 51 people with ordinary memories split 3 ways. One group learned the method of loci. You walk a familiar route in your mind and hang each thing you need to remember on a specific spot along it. One group did standard memory drills. One did nothing. 40 days, 30 minutes a day. The loci group went from recalling 26 words out of 72 to 62. More than double. The other 2 groups weren't close. Scanned again, their brain connectivity had shifted toward the champion's pattern. 4 months later, with no practice, the ability was still there. 1 study, 1 lab, 1 task. But it's a striking result, and it reframes this entire list. Everything before this was damage control. Protect the sleep, protect the ears, stop leaking attention, stop buying software that trains you at 1 parking space. This one is different. 40 days took ordinary people to the edge of the best in the sport. The ceiling was never the hardware you were born with. Nobody handed you the method, so you assumed the limit was you. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.